Hey ladies and gentlemen, Steven here from Redolessence. Welcome back to another video. I hope this video finds you well. And in today's episode, we're going to be taking a closer look at 3 brand new fragrances by the brand Dossier. As a matter of fact, all 3 of these fragrances are original creations. So I'm very excited to give you my thoughts on them, and a lot of them are really unique. So make sure to stay tuned. Now, before I begin today's video and I tell you about these 3 brand new fragrances from Dossier, part of the Genderless collection, and I tell you about how they smell, the notes, the performance, what my experience with these fragrances have been, I do want to start things off by mentioning that if you're a fan of fragrance-related content, please do consider supporting the channel by subscribing to it. Make sure to hit that bell icon so you can be notified whenever I do upload future videos to the channel. And of course, make sure to give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it or if you took something of value from today's episode. Now, of course, if you've never heard of Dossier before, you must have been living under a rock. I have reviewed so many of their fragrances already, and they make their own impression of more popular niche and designer fragrances. Le Labo, Tom Ford, Creed, to name a few. And of course, with a lot of these designer niche brands, they can be in the hundreds. And of course, that's a lot of money for somebody to spend for a luxury product. And so if they can give you something that is comparable at only a fraction of the cost, that's one of the reasons why people get into purchasing Dossier in place of some of these more expensive fragrances. I'm going to leave a bunch of links down below to videos that I have done on Dossier products in the past, so definitely make sure to check them out. But here we actually have something that's a bit different. These are original creations. So it's a new collection called the Genderless collection, and we have 3 new original fragrances, and they are really unique. I was trying them for the first time, and the Caramelized Lavender and the Rhubarb and all of these unique ingredients actually come across very realistic, very natural smelling, and that's something that I truly love, especially given the price point. Now, of course, another thing to be mentioned is if you have tried Dossier before, you know that they do have this sort of risk-free system where if you try the fragrance with the sample that they provide you and you don't like it, you can return the bottle, no questions asked. So they do have this really easy to proceed with a refund policy that I really like. I've never had to return any fragrances, and I have acquired several through them throughout the years. Of course, these 3 were provided to me by the brand, but of course I'm going to keep it honest. If I like it, I'm going to tell you I like it. If I feel like one resonates with my personal taste and my skin chemistry more than the other, of course I'm going to make sure to disclose that as well. But we do have 3 original creations, and they are called Fiery Leather and Rhubarb. The second one is definitely on the sweeter side of things, and it's called Caramelized Lavender and Hazelnut. And the third one is Sunny Vetiver and Neroli. Also, make sure to look down below in the description box where you are going to find a special coupon code. In any case, I'm excited to give you my thoughts on these fragrances. Let's go ahead and start things off with the presentation. So the first fragrance that we're going to start things off with, now that we took a look at the presentation, and I love this cool magnetic cap, you can actually pick it up from the cap, no problems. This one is called Fiery Leather and Rhubarb. Now, rhubarb is a really interesting ingredient. It's a note that is kind of vegetal, but it also has a hint of like a strawberry smell about it. And this fragrance, definitely opens up with this vegetal, slightly fruity smelling leather ingredient, and that makes it really unique. As a matter of fact, when I first smelled it, I thought it was something along the same lines as Roses on Ice by Kilian Paris. And the reason I say that is because that fragrance has a lot of like cucumber and vegetal ingredients, but the more I smelled it, the more I realized that this is truly unique, and I can't really compare it to anything else out there. Now, the leather might give one the impression that this is going to be on the heavier side of things. It's actually really bright in the opening, very bright, very effervescent. There is a nice bit of citrus in here as well. So in the opening, you have rhubarb, nutmeg, and melon. And of course, it's the melon in here that kind of contributes to that fruity sweetness that I alluded to earlier. I think the rhubarb has a lot to do with it as well, but I do personally feel like the melon adds that certain saccharine flavor in the opening that really makes this an accessible DNA. In the heart, you have geranium, rose, and saffron. Hey, I mentioned roses on ice. That also has a little bit of rose in there as well. But in the base, you have vegan, black leather, and vetiver. So the vetiver used in here is of the clean variety. And again, that's what makes this so accessible. And of course, all leather used in fragrances is really just an accord. And so, of course, it is comprised of synthetic ingredients, but I wouldn't be surprised if they do use natural ingredients as well. You know, when we're talking about some of their inspirations, they do reverse engineer popular fragrances to try to bring them as close to the real thing as possible. So for them to really put their thinking caps on and create 3 original fragrances that also smell good and are unique, I think is not an easy task. So kudos to them. I definitely have to applaud them for putting out something like this. I think this is really, really interesting, really unique. Definitely has a vegetal feel. You get the rose, you get the melon in the opening with the rhubarb, giving it that sweet, fruity flavor. But then there's also enough of a brightness in the opening that you can wear this in the warm weather, but also in the cold weather as well. With that leather, it does linger. On my skin, performance for this one was about 7 to 8 hours. So the projection and the performance for this one is really, really good. I wore this one 2 days ago and I loved it. This one is called Caramelized Lavender and Hazelnut. Of course, hazelnut is found in many fragrances, including a Margiela fragrance. I'm forgetting which one. I'm sure you're all going to remind me down below, but also Valentino Uomo. This doesn't smell like Valentino Uomo. It doesn't have that creamy irisy heart, but it does have salted caramelized hazelnut accord, lavender, violet, and orange flower in the heart. And in the base, you have patchouli, vetiver, suede, and ambroxan. Now, I do gotta be honest, I'm not getting too many fresh elements from this fragrance. Wow. But that sweet lavender is so interesting. It's so unique. So the lavender in this fragrance smells very realistic. If you've tried Caron por un Homme, that fragrance has a really natural smelling lavender, really realistic. Other fragrances have more of like a modern, contemporary, like subdued lavender. I'm thinking of fragrances like Fierce by Abercrombie & Fitch, or Percival by Parfum de Marly, or even Legend by Montblanc. This does not have that subdued, quiet lavender that is kind of drowned out by all these other fresh ingredients. This has a very natural smelling lavender, and that gourmand element in the opening is incredible. One of the reasons why I love this fragrance so much is it kind of reminds me of not a sibling, but like a cousin to Eau Noir by Christian Dior. Now again, it's not similar. It does its own thing. Eau Noir has coffee and I think Immortelle and some other dark ingredients and some resins residing in the base. That's not what you're gonna get from this. Definitely goes in a much different direction. But just that sweet, salty, caramelized lavender is such a unique, classy, dressed up, date night sort of a fragrance that can be worn very comfortably in the cold weather. I really dig this one. Probably my favorite of the 3. Again, it really all depends on the situation, the occasion, but getting down to the last one, Sunny Vetiver and Neroli. Oof, really, really bright. So this is the charming fragrance that everybody is gonna wanna wear in the summertime. The Neroli does not smell like Neroli Portofino by Tom Ford. It's actually very easy to get along with, and it's very much sharing the stage with the vetiver and some of the other ingredients in here. Now it's funny, as I smell it, I actually do pick up on a lot of the woods. So I see cedar wood in the base, and I do get this darker woodsy personality from it, but again, genderless, completely unisex, and that's what I love, you know? I think in the industry, there's usually this misconception or this misnomer that if a fragrance is floral, it's for women. If it's resinous and woodsy, it's masculine. But I think people don't really realize how many women's fragrances have woods, have oak moss, have fir balsam. How many men's fragrances have jasmine and iris and a lot of these other floral ingredients. So this one has bergamot, grapefruit, neroli, orange blossom, geranium, elemi resin, Haitian vetiver, patchouli, and cedarwood conclude this note pyramid. And you do get this smooth vetiver, kind of on the earthy side of things. The patchouli has a lot to do with that. You have this noticeably woodsy base, which I think is really, really nice. Definitely grounds the fragrance, and I'm sure it aids in the longevity of it as well. Also wanted to mention the longevity for the second one that I spoke about is about 8 to 9 hours. And then for this one goes back to kind of like that 7-hour mark. So the best performer and the sweetest one of the bunch would definitely be the Caramelized Lavender and Hazelnut. The easiest to wear in terms of summertime and just feeling very bright and exuberant is certainly the last one, Sunny Vetiver and Neroli. And I love how the name implies pretty much what you can expect to get from it. Very sunny, very jubilant, very bright and uplifting. And of course the Neroli is kind of short-lived, as all citrus ingredients are in perfumes, but that clean vetiver in the base with the cedarwood gives it this really, really nice earthy tone. And to conclude, I think all three of these fragrances are amazing unisex fragrances from the Genderless collection. The presentation for all of them looks the same, which is why I have just one box in the back here. I wasn't going to be able to fit 3 on here without them falling off, but all of them have something really, really special to offer. And again, take advantage of that return policy that they have. You know, try the fragrances through the sample that is provided. If for whatever reason it doesn't float your boat, if it doesn't resonate with your own personal tastes, you can always return it. But I do think that all of these are really special in their own way. I think they all have something to offer, and I hope you have the opportunity to try them, because now the brand is proving its abilities to not just create inspirations of some of the most expensive fragrances on the market. Now they're doing their own thing, which is something that I love to see. Let's go ahead and finish things off with my overall assessment. Now, first up, in terms of the uniqueness and the overall smell, all of them are really unique. The sweet lavender in the second one, the sort of woodsy neroli, clean vetiver vibe in Sunny Neroli, and also the leathery vegetal vibe of the first one. All of them have something really interesting to offer. The longevity, just to kind of make it quick, be 7 hours, 8 hours, 6 to 7 hours, something along those lines. But the longevity and the performance for all of them is really good, especially with the cards that come on the inside of every box. Dossier is pretty transparent when it comes to the concentration of aromatic compounds and all of that stuff. In terms of the versatility, I would say definitely Caramelized Lavender and Hazelnut could be more of a colder weather fragrance, and the first and third one are definitely more for the hotter weather. But I do find that Fiery Leather and Rhubarb can work really well in the colder weather as well because of the leather. Sunny Vetiver and Neroli is probably one that people would want to wear in the spring and summer. All of them are completely unisex, and all of them cater to anybody of any age. In terms of the presentation, I do like the red boxes that make them stand out. My final verdict on these fragrances is I love the fact that the brand provided me with the opportunity to try 3 unique DNAs when it comes to fragrances. And sometimes we smell so many fragrances that smell alike, and we become kind of bored and disenchanted. And so I'm glad that they were able to expand my olfactory palette in smelling these 3 fragrances that possess DNAs that I've never tried before. And I think they all have something very special to offer. Thank you so much for joining me today. I really do appreciate it. If you enjoyed this video, or if you took something of value from today's review, please do consider supporting the channel by subscribing to it. Also, make sure to hit that bell icon so you can be notified whenever I do upload future videos to the channel. And of course, give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it, or if you took something of value from today's episode. Thanks again for watching. Love you guys. We'll see you next time. Bye.